The Stoics, an ancient school of philosophy, believed that true strength lies not in conquering external forces, but in mastering our own emotions. In today's world, this wisdom is more relevant than ever. Have you ever felt drained by negativity after interacting with someone? Toxic people can disrupt our mental well-being, leaving us feeling frustrated and powerless. But what if there were practical strategies to navigate these difficult dynamics? In this video, we'll go over 11 practical Stoic-inspired ideas that will give you the ability to handle toxic people with compassion, grace, and even resilience. Join me on a journey to protect your emotional well-being, and subscribe to the channel for more tips on developing mental resilience. By the end of this video, you'll be equipped with a toolbox of Stoic wisdom to handle toxic people effectively. So, take a deep breath and let's begin. Number 1. Identifying and understanding the toxic threat. Take a moment to picture yourself as a guard at the entrance to your very own personal citadel. This citadel represents your inner tranquility, physical health, and emotional safety. Without a doubt, awareness is the first line of defense in protecting this fortress. Just as a watchful guard must notice potential dangers, you need to recognize the indicators that a toxic individual is approaching. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who championed reason and self-control, tells us in his Enchiridion that it is not what happens to you that upsets you, rather, it is your judgment of what happens. This advice is particularly relevant when dealing with toxic people. Their negative attitudes and manipulative actions do not have the power to control you. Instead, your emotional reaction to their behavior and how you perceive it determine the effect they have on your inner peace. The key to success lies in cultivating a Stoic gaze, a calm and objective way of viewing situations. Recognizing the characteristics of toxic behavior is a crucial step in this process. Below are some important warning signs to watch for. 1. Constant criticism. A toxic individual often finds fault with you, your behavior, or your decisions. This criticism can be indirect or overt, but it consistently leaves you feeling deflated and uncertain about your abilities. 2. Manipulative tactics. Toxic people frequently use deceptive strategies to achieve their goals. They may resort to flattery, guilt trips, or even threats to manipulate your behavior. 3. Thriving on negativity. A toxic person often seems to thrive on negativity. They constantly complain, focus on the worst aspects of situations, and pull others down with their pessimism. In addition to these general traits, there are specific toxic personality types to be aware of. The narcissist. This person craves constant approval and adoration. While they may initially appear charming, their interactions are ultimately one-sided, leaving you feeling emotionally drained. The gossip. This individual thrives on social turmoil. They spread rumors, stir up trouble, and take pleasure in causing friction among others. The energy vampire. As the name suggests, this person has the ability to drain your energy. Interacting with them leaves you feeling mentally and emotionally exhausted. By understanding the various toxic personalities and their behaviors, you can develop a mental map of the potential threats to your inner citadel. Just as a Roman Stoic philosopher like Seneca might devise a plan to defeat an enemy on the battlefield, you can use your newfound awareness to anticipate the strategies of harmful individuals and create a plan to safeguard your emotional well-being. Number 2. Fortify your walls. Put yourself in the shoes of Marcus Aurelius, the famous Stoic emperor of Rome. To rule a vast empire, one needed power, knowledge, and unyielding determination. These same attributes are vital when it comes to strengthening the walls of your own inner citadel, your emotional well-being. Undoubtedly, the boundaries you establish are the foundation of this citadel. When dealing with toxic people, boundaries are the clear lines you draw to define what you will and will not tolerate. You must not allow toxic individuals to intrude on your emotional territory, just as a powerful monarch would not permit his borders to be violated. Here, Stoic philosophy comes into play, emphasizing the importance of reason and self-control. Step 1. Identify your boundaries. To begin, you must first determine which actions or behaviors drain your energy or violate your sense of self. Is it the persistent pessimism of a friend, a co-worker's manipulative behavior, or perhaps the intrusive advice of a family member? Be open and honest with yourself about what you will not endure. Step 2. Communicate your boundaries clearly. Once you have identified these boundaries, the next step is to communicate them in a clear and concise manner. Channel your inner Marcus Aurelius. Be firm yet fair. To facilitate effective communication, consider these strategies. 1. Use I statements. Instead of making accusatory statements like, "You are always so negative," try saying, "I feel drained when you constantly focus on unpleasant things." 2. Be specific. Avoid vague phrases like, "I need some space." Instead, say something like, "I can't talk right now, but I'd be happy to chat later this week." 3. Maintain kindness while being firm. There's a distinction between being assertive and being aggressive. Convey your point with self-assurance, but without hostility. Step 3. Enforce your boundaries. Setting boundaries is not a one-time task. Like a Stoic ruler who remains vigilant against barbarian invasions, you must consistently enforce your boundaries. A wall that is unstable is easy to dismantle. If a toxic individual disregards your limits, calmly remind them of the boundary you've set. In some cases, it may be necessary to limit your interactions with them or withdraw entirely from the situation. Remember, establishing boundaries is not about punishing someone. It is about protecting yourself. The Stoics, who vigorously avoided vices like envy, a common source of toxic behavior, understood this well. By establishing boundaries, you are not acting selfishly. Rather, you are safeguarding your emotional well-being and creating the space necessary to cultivate inner peace. Within the context of your Stoic journey toward a life of tranquility, a strong citadel fortified by clearly defined and well-defended boundaries is an essential component. Number 3, become uninteresting to the emotional barbarian. Picture a ferocious emotional barbarian driven by pessimism and seeking dramatic conflict. Certain toxic individuals behave this way. They thrive on attention, your emotional reactions, and the negativity they generate. Their goal is to elicit a response, a flash of anger, frustration, or hurt, to fuel their fire. They constantly poke and prod with insults. The Stoic principles of emotional regulation and indifference to external stimuli inspire the grey rock method, a powerful tool in such situations. Developed by therapist Paul Friedman, the grey rock method is a strategy that involves becoming emotionally unresponsive. It's not about shutting down completely, but about presenting the emotional equivalent of a smooth, grey rock, neutral, unyielding, and providing no foothold for negativity. To understand this approach more deeply, let's consider the wisdom of Seneca, a great Roman Stoic philosopher. Seneca teaches that true happiness resides in enjoying the present without anxious dependence upon the future. This reminds us to detach ourselves from the need for attention. Toxic individuals often crave attention, whether positive or negative. The grey rock method denies them the emotional response they seek. In the midst of the emotional storm they attempt to create, you become uninteresting, just like a dull rock. Neutral responses become your armor. How the Grey Rock Method works. The Grey Rock Method involves intentionally responding to negativity with neutral, factual, and emotionless statements. Here are some key steps. 1. Use neutral responses. When someone toxic insults your work, for example, you can deflect their attempt by saying, "That's interesting," without giving them further fuel for their negativity. 2. Avoid emotional engagement. Refrain from justifying yourself, arguing, or getting drawn into emotional disputes. Toxic people often try to manipulate your emotions using sarcasm, guilt trips, or hostility. By staying calm and factual, you deny them the satisfaction they seek. 3. Disengage from their drama. When faced with emotional provocation, maintain your composure and refuse to get sucked into their vortex of negativity. Seneca reminds us that the path to genuine happiness is to not amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears. In the same way, you should not give toxic individuals the emotional power they crave. Key considerations. While the Grey Rock Method is a potent tool, it is not a miracle cure. Some toxic individuals may escalate their behavior in an attempt to provoke you further, testing your emotional resilience. In such cases, stay consistent, keep your cool, and remember that their negativity is not your fault. By applying this Stoic-inspired method, you can transform yourself from a passive victim of their emotional theatrics into an unmoved spectator. This approach defends your inner calm and protects your emotional well-being. Number 4. The broken record technique. Imagine being subjected to a never-ending onslaught of manipulation, a toxic individual persistently chipping away at your boundaries through deceptive arguments and emotional ploys. Such a relentless assault can be both emotionally exhausting and deeply unpleasant. But do not despair. The Stoic principles of unshakable reason and perseverance inspire the broken record technique, a potent defensive strategy. This method involves calmly and patiently repeating a clear statement of your position, much like a broken record stuck on the same unyielding message. While it may seem simple, this technique can be remarkably effective in repelling attempts to manipulate you and maintaining your focus on what truly matters. To delve deeper into this technique, let us draw on the wisdom of Epictetus, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. He reminds us that freedom is the only good. This freedom includes the ability to establish your own boundaries and the liberty to say no without the need for justification. The broken record technique embodies this principle, allowing you to display steadfast determination and prevent manipulators from steering you off course. Defending against emotional attacks. Manipulators often employ emotional strategies, flattery, guilt trips, or even outbursts of anger to gain control and get what they want. The broken record technique enables you to neutralize these emotional assaults. By calmly repeating your stance, you shift the focus away from their manipulative tactics and back to reason and facts. This consistency can be highly disconcerting for manipulators. Repetition acts as a form of defense, disrupting their flow of conversation, throwing them off balance, and exposing the flaws in their arguments. Imagine a wave crashing against a strong, unmovable rock. The rock remains steadfast, while the wave eventually dissipates. Staying calm and firm. Contrary to popular belief, the broken record technique does not invite confrontation. It is about calmly enforcing your boundaries while maintaining a firm focus on your position. This approach aligns perfectly with Stoicism's emphasis on reason and logic as guiding principles for navigating life's challenges. By employing this technique, You empower yourself to resist manipulation and safeguard your inner peace with unyielding determination. Just as the Stoics advocated for emotional resilience and clarity, the broken record technique allows you to stand firm, repel toxic influence, and uphold your sense of self. Number 5. Don't take the bait. Imagine a skilled angler casting a line, baited with negative thoughts, in the hopes of drawing you into a whirlpool of emotional drama. They dangle provocations, insults, or guilt trips, hoping to elicit a reaction that will fuel their drama and feed their negativity. This is the strategy many toxic people use. However, Stoic philosophy provides a great defense. Indifference. Indifference is not the same as apathy. Apathy refers to a lack of concern and a state of listlessness, whereas indifference, as the Stoics taught, involves emotional detachment from something. Philosophers such as Epictetus emphasized this distinction. Apathy is disengagement from all things, while indifference is the ability to disconnect from unpleasant feelings and judgments that distort our reason. This distinction is crucial when dealing with toxic individuals. How Stoic indifference helps you avoid the drama. Bait 1. Be aware of the strategy. The first step is to recognize the bait. Become familiar with the telltale signals that a toxic individual is attempting to provoke you. Is it a sarcastic remark, a veiled insult, or a guilt trip disguised as a suggestion? By identifying the strategy, you've already reduced its power. The bait is designed to provoke a response, such as anger, annoyance, or defensiveness. It is important to detach yourself from this emotional hook. 2. Embrace Stoic indifference. Stoic indifference is a choice that allows you to avoid becoming emotionally entangled with the negativity of the situation. Imagine you're presented with bait, negative comments or provocations. Rather than taking the bait, you examine it with calm composure, unaffected by its ability to anger you. 3. Let the drama dissolve. When you don't respond to their negative comments, the power they have over you diminishes due to a lack of fuel. The drama they attempt to create cannot sustain itself without a response. Their scathing remarks remain suspended in the air, gradually losing their power. Maintaining your inner peace. Stoicism does not advocate for becoming a heartless, uncaring machine. It encourages the expression of good emotions, but it emphasizes detaching from negative emotions that you cannot control and channeling your energy toward things you can control. By practicing Stoic indifference, you can transform yourself from a passive player in their drama into a peaceful observer. This allows you to show that you are not willing to be entangled in their emotional web. Your inner serenity remains intact, a refuge that is unaffected by the storms others try to create. Number 6. The art of the non-reaction. Imagine someone who is a verbal gladiator, a master of insults and barbs who thrives on the heated back and forth of an argument. There are some toxic individuals who make this domain their home. They use words as weapons with the intention of inciting anger, humiliating you, and ultimately drawing you into their emotional sphere. Presented here is a Stoic strategy that is not only effective but often underappreciated: the art of the non-reaction. When deployed in a planned manner, silence can be a powerful weapon against lethal verbal assaults. It disrupts the dynamic that the toxic individual seeks to create and disarms them. However, silence is not something that comes effortlessly to everyone. The desire to respond, to defend ourselves, or to win the argument is something we are often conditioned to feel. Stoicism, on the other hand, teaches us the importance of mastering our reactions. A stillness maintained at the right moment signifies true control. The strength of non-reaction. To better understand the power of the non-reaction, let us consider the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, the renowned Roman Stoic emperor. Toxic individuals often rely on a predictable pattern. Their tone is pessimistic, and they expect a response from you. When you show anger, annoyance, or defensiveness, you fuel their fire and keep the toxic cycle going. Choosing silence, however, disrupts this pattern. By withholding an emotional response, you deny them the reaction they are seeking. Picture for a moment a tennis player swinging their racket toward a completely empty court. Their powerful serve lands with a thud, and the entire environment is filled with silence. In this analogy, silence is not empty. It is a form of communication that speaks volumes without words. It demonstrates your high level of self-control and your unwillingness to engage in their negative behavior. The message conveyed is one of strength and non-attachment to their emotional manipulation. Silence as strength. It is important to remember that Marcus Aurelius advised us to waste no more time arguing about what a good person should become. Just become one. The attributes of a good Stoic are exemplified by your quiet. You remain calm, reasonable, and unmoved by external provocations. Preparing for escalation. When using the non-reaction, it is essential to apply a planned approach. At first, a toxic person may escalate their efforts, hurling further verbal insults in an attempt to elicit a response. Keep your composure and remain unmoved in your silence. It is crucial to understand that quiet is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it is a powerful tool employed by those who are truly strong. When to use non-reaction. The non-reaction is not a solution that can be applied in every situation, but it is an important weapon in your Stoic armory. It has the potential to disarm toxic individuals, defend your inner peace, and demonstrate that you have power over your emotions. When used strategically, choosing silence sends a powerful message. You are choosing not to play their game. Number 7. Limit your exposure. Imagine that you are inside your walled citadel, where your mental health is being painstakingly preserved by strict boundaries. Even the most sturdy walls, however, cannot completely protect you from dangers that come from the outside. Toxic individuals, like persistent intruders, may still attempt to penetrate your safeguards. The Stoic idea of controlling what you can control comes into play at this point. Although you cannot control the actions of toxic people, you can manage the amount of time you spend with them. One of the first lines of defense in this method is to reduce the amount of time you spend interacting with toxic people whenever possible. Establishing physical distance is key. If you can completely avoid them, do so. You might reschedule a lunch engagement or respectfully remove yourself from conversations that are negative. Remember, this is not about being impolite. It's about protecting yourself. Just as a Stoic leader would not send their forces into unnecessary conflict, you should not subject yourself to negativity that is not essential. However, it is not always feasible to avoid toxic individuals completely. Sometimes, toxic people may be co-workers, family members, or close friends. In these situations, establishing emotional distance becomes necessary. Strategies for limiting exposure. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus tells us that happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one another. This highlights the importance of mental detachment. It doesn't mean you should disengage emotionally, but rather you can observe their behavior without allowing it to color your own emotions. You can practice mental detachment by observing their conduct in an impartial manner, without becoming emotionally invested in it. Toxic individuals often try to control your emotions using negativity. Cognitive reframing, a method influenced by Stoic principles, can be of great help here. You can transform their pessimism into an objective observation. For example, If a co-worker is constantly complaining, you might reframe the situation by thinking, they seem to be having a difficult day, rather than allowing their negativity to affect you. Toxic people thrive on negativity, so it's essential to focus on the positive. Don't let them take away your happiness. Make a conscious effort to concentrate on the positive aspects of your life, such as personal interests, meaningful work, and supportive friends. Allow yourself to be emotionally protected by these positive factors. They act as a safe haven from the negativity they bring. There is no cowardice in limiting your exposure, both physically and emotionally. Protecting your inner peace and practicing self-care are vital. Stoics emphasize the importance of living a moral life and acting rationally. When you reduce the time spent interacting with negative people and situations, you create space for nurturing a flourishing inner life. Imagine that your fortress is surrounded by a large moat, which, in addition to being a physical barrier, serves as an emotional barrier, protecting your peace from the advancing negativity of toxic individuals. Number 8. Build your support system. Imagine for a moment that you are serving as a guard at the entrance to your inner castle. Your walls have been strengthened with boundaries, you've perfected the art of non-reaction, and you've reduced the number of toxic people in your life. However, to fully defend your position, even the most courageous warrior requires a powerful phalanx, a formation of trustworthy allies. Your support system is your Stoic phalanx, an essential component in ensuring you maintain your inner serenity when facing negativity. The Stoics, particularly philosophers like Seneca, placed a strong emphasis on living a life in harmony with nature. These guiding principles are exemplified by a network of virtuous individuals who are supportive of you, inspire you, and share your fundamental beliefs. In difficult times, you can turn to them for support and guidance. They are the people who will listen to you, offer wise counsel, and provide unwavering encouragement. A robust support system serves as a buffer against the negative influence of toxic individuals. In the process of dealing with toxic people, it can be emotionally draining, and having a safe space for sharing can be invaluable. With trusted friends or family members, you can confide in them, and their comprehension and compassion become vital to your emotional well-being. They remind you that you are not fighting this struggle alone. Toxic people often drain your sense of self-worth, but your support system can counter this. It provides encouragement, reminds you of your abilities, and reinforces the value you bring to the world. Their faith in you strengthens your determination and rekindles the fire inside you, especially when negativity threatens to extinguish it. The Stoics believed in surrounding oneself with individuals who exemplify the characteristics one wishes to cultivate. A network of virtuous, supportive people can serve as positive role models. By observing their strength, resilience, and optimistic outlook, you learn to develop similar qualities, increasing your capacity to handle negative situations gracefully. Building a solid network of support is an ongoing process. To do so, you must nurture existing relationships and seek out people who share your values. Here are some ways to do this. 1. Invest in quality time. Set aside time to interact meaningfully with those who support you. Build a sense of connection by sharing experiences and listening to theirs. 2. Join groups aligned with your interests. Engaging in clubs, volunteer organizations, or online communities that reflect your values can help you meet like-minded individuals who will naturally offer support and encouragement. 3. Express gratitude. Never underestimate the power of expressing gratitude to those who support you. Thank them for the positive influence they have on your well-being and for their unwavering presence in your life. By cultivating a strong Stoic phalanx, You create a formidable shield that protects you from the negativity of toxic people. Strength, perspective, and renewed optimism are among the benefits you gain when surrounded by positive influences. Always remember that even the most well-guarded fortress benefits from a robust defense. Your support system, consisting of your trusted companions, becomes your unyielding phalanx, ensuring that your inner serenity remains secure and protected. Number 9. Prioritize self-care. Interacting with toxic individuals is like facing an unrelenting assault in combat. The emotional energy you have is depleted, leaving you feeling exhausted. When it comes to protecting yourself against negativity, self-care becomes an essential component. Just as a Stoic warrior would prioritize tending to their wounds and sharpening their blade after a battle, your Stoic way of living should include self-care as a fundamental part of your routine. Think of self-care as an investment in your mental well-being. Make it a priority alongside other vital tasks and schedule it into your day. Your emotional reserves can be replenished, and your resistance to negativity can be strengthened through the following self-care strategies. 1. Participate in activities that bring you joy. Determine the activities that bring you actual delight and help you relax. Physical exercises such as running or yoga, as well as creative activities like painting or writing, can help you de-stress, recharge your emotional batteries, and return to the world with newfound energy and perspective. 2. Engage in awareness practices like meditation. The Stoics engaged in practices akin to meditation. Through meditation, you can calm your mind, disengage from negative thoughts, and create inner peace. Making meditation a regular part of your self-care regimen provides you with a great tool to manage stress and negativity, whether it stems from yourself or from toxic people. 3. Seek solace in nature. The Stoics emphasized living in harmony with the natural world. Spending time in natural settings, whether it's a walk in the park or a hike through the woods, has a significant positive influence on your overall health and happiness. If you want to alleviate stress, enhance your mood, and gain a sense of perspective to combat negativity, immersing yourself in nature is a type of preventative maintenance for your emotional well-being. Listen to the signals your body sends you. Pay attention to the symptoms of exhaustion, tension, or emotional depletion. Make self-care a priority before you reach the point of complete exhaustion. Establish routines for healthy eating, getting enough sleep, and taking breaks throughout the day. These simple routines lay the foundation for your emotional resilience. Just as you set boundaries with toxic people, you must establish boundaries around the time you dedicate to self-care. Deny requests that might interfere with your time to relax, or set aside specific times throughout the day for activities that nurture your well-being. Remember, putting your own well-being first is not an act of selfishness. It is necessary to preserve your emotional resilience. By integrating self-care into your Stoic way of life, you become a more powerful and balanced individual. A Stoic warrior would be prepared to meet any adversary, approaching obstacles with better perspective and emotional fortitude. By keeping your emotional battery full, you are in a stronger position to deflect negativity and radiate positivity, thereby establishing a formidable shield against toxic people in your life. Number 10. Remember, it's not about you. Picture yourself with a dark cloud looming over you, spewing out negativity and obscuring your view of the outside world. When you're working with toxic people, you will frequently encounter situations like this. They create a poisonous environment by projecting their own worries, insecurities, and issues onto those around them, which results in people being affected negatively. The concept of prosopopoeia, which is rooted in Stoic philosophy, serves as a formidable defense mechanism in this context. We are encouraged to view ourselves as intelligent observers standing outside of the emotional tornado. Through the use of the phrase propua, utilized by Stoic philosophers, we become impartial analyzers of the issue, separating ourselves from the negative aspects of the scenario and concentrating on the rational aspects. When interacting with toxic people, it is essential to maintain this level of detachment because the insults and negativity they express are rarely directed at the individual. Rather, they are reflections of the individual's own inner issues. You can navigate the toxicity of toxic people by utilizing Stoic detachment in the following ways. In order to divert attention away from their own inadequacies, toxic people frequently resort to blaming others, criticizing others, and being negative. You are able to discern this projection for what it is by applying the proper vocabulary. Distancing yourself from the emotional undercurrent will allow you to observe their conduct in an impartial manner, much like a scientist would while investigating a phenomenon. You are able to comprehend that their negativity is a product of their own internal landscape and not a reflection of you or your worth. When you have the ability to detach yourself from the situation for a moment, their behavior is not a reflection of your character. Rather, it is a symptom of themselves and the problems they are experiencing. Take, for example, the dark cloud. Although it may throw a shadow, it has nothing to do with the ground that it momentarily obscures from view. The sky above still has the sun blazing brightly. Epictetus, a major Stoic philosopher, tells us that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. This highlights the need for focusing on your Stoic path. The length of our lives is sufficient, and a considerable quantity has been bestowed upon us for the most important reasons, provided that we are able to make the most of it correctly. If you want to avoid wasting your valuable time and energy, you should avoid getting involved with the negative energy of toxic people. Maintain your emotional distance. Make it a priority to look after your own health and keep moving forward on the Stoic path that will lead you to a life filled with virtue and calm. It is not the same thing as apathy to be detached. While it is possible to show compassion for their troubles, it is not necessary for you to become a victim of the emotional storms they are experiencing. You can protect your inner calm and emotional well-being by practicing Stoic detachment, which requires you to change from a passive target into a centered observer. It is important to keep in mind that the sun is still shining brilliantly above the mountains of clouds. Number 11. Don't try to fix them. The desire to mend, to heal, and to engage in the role of a therapist can be powerful, particularly when you are confronted with a person you care about who engages in behaviors that are harmful to others. On the other hand, in the sphere of Stoicism, this road frequently results in frustration and a depletion of one's emotional reserves. When it comes to cultivating transformation, toxic individuals, like plants suffocated by weeds, require their own willpower and effort. This transition cannot be compelled by any means for the following reasons. Stoicism places a greater emphasis on concentrating on what you are able to control, your own reactions and interactions, rather than making an effort to change a toxic person. The onus of accountability for the actions of a toxic person is entirely on the individual themselves. It is necessary for them to make the deliberate decision to address their negative emotions and look for a way to achieve virtue. Trying to take on this responsibility for them will only result in an unhealthy dynamic and will hinder them from taking responsibility for the problems they are experiencing. One of the fundamental principles of Stoicism is the acceptance of things that are beyond one's ability to control. This includes things like the actions of other people, the circumstances of the outer world, and the ever-changing conditions of existence. The negativity exhibited by a poisonous person is a perfect example of this category. Because you have come to terms with this fact, you have liberated yourself from the fruitless effort to alter them. Imagine that your inner tranquility is a blooming garden. This is the focus of your Stoic garden. The toxic people in your life, with their negative attitude, are like weeds that threaten to suffocate the growth you have painstakingly cultivated. You are wasting your time and effort by attempting to uproot them in the garden of another person. Put your attention on things that are important to you, such as establishing positive connections, tending to your virtues, and engaging in self-care practices. Stoic philosophy, on the other hand, places a high importance on assisting others in achieving virtue. If you feel compelled, there are ways to encourage a toxic person to engage in self-reflection. However, it is important to keep in mind that you have limitations. Instead of trying to dictate the path they should take to change, you should offer materials that could potentially stimulate their own introspection. You should not try to solve their problem. A book on good communication, a recommendation for a therapist, or even just a kind suggestion to evaluate the consequences of their actions could be included in this, depending on the circumstances. You can have the most significant influence on others by demonstrating Stoic principles in your own life. This is the most effective way to lead by example. You have the ability to act as a silent beacon, a monument to the transformational power of Stoic ideas. Through your calm attitude, measured responses, and unwavering emphasis on virtue, you lead by example. Sometimes, despite your best attempts, a toxic person will continue to be entrenched in their negativity. It is important to know when to get away from them. In circumstances like these, Stoicism recommends establishing boundaries and, if necessary, withdrawing from the situation in order to safeguard one's own well-being. Keep in mind that you are unable to influence their trip, but you have the ability to pick your own path. Through the process of internalizing these ideas, you will convert yourself from a frustrated fixer into a Stoic facilitator. You are able to provide assistance without jeopardizing your own health, and you are able to develop a garden that may flourish in spite of the weeds that may be growing in other areas.